Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Enchanting Lawyer podcast. This is a show where we interview the most inspiring entrepreneurs from all over the world who share with us their ideas, and we learn from them so much. And today I have a very exciting and special guest, and I'm honored to have Ryan Michler here today. Ryan is an Iraqi combat veteran and a financial advisor. He's the founder of Order of Man, and Order of Man is a blog and a podcast dedicated to helping men develop in 8 key areas of their lives: relationship, intellect, leadership, manly know-how, wealth, fitness, self-mastery, and style. And we can learn more about Order of Man at www.orderofman.com, and we'll make sure to share the website in the show notes. But before I reach out to Ryan, I just want to say that we the show is not, this particular episode is not just dedicated to men, but I feel that in our business, and me being a man myself, I feel that there's a lot of challenges that we face just because life is not easy. It's we try to provide, we try to be the best at what we do, and there's so many things around it that makes us feel frustrated, but we always keep it to ourselves because we feel that we have to be strong, and we're very scared to share that. And learning about what Ryan is doing, I was really excited to learn that there's other ways of how we can deal with it. And Ryan, first of all, welcome to the show. I'm very excited to have you here.
Thanks, Jacob. I'm excited too. I appreciate you having me on today.
How are you doing today?
I'm really good, really good. Calling it quits for the weekend, but we're doing well.
Exactly. So, if you're listening, this is a Friday for us, so it's exciting. So,
That's right.
I gave you a little bit of an intro, but why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself and also about Order of Man, and why did you start this thing?
Yeah, sure. So I've been actually a financial advisor, which is obviously in the financial industry. That makes sense, being on this show and talking a little bit about that as well.
Sure.
But I've been an advisor for almost 9 years now, and I still have my financial planning practice. I do a lot of that. But I also do Order of Man, which, like you said, is dedicated to helping men really achieve more in their lives, step up in their lives, take responsibility for their lives, and be all that they want to be. So we focus on those 8 key areas that you went through, and we've got the blog, and we've got our own podcast as well. I actually did a podcast for my financial planning practice, and that didn't last very long before I shifted over to Order of Man. But I think what really separates, and you brought up a good point, Jacob. You said this is not only towards men, and that's absolutely true. The principles and the skill sets and all of that we talk about is applicable to both genders. So it's not that it's exclusive to men, although I know more about being a man, obviously, than being a woman. So that's why we focus that way. But yeah, that's what we do. But I really think the men and women out there that have success in their lives are the ones that are able to take action. And that's what really sets apart a financial advisor, a lawyer, anybody who's having any level of success is willing to take action at some point. So I've always had this idea, and I've always been on the self-development journey. I grew up without a permanent father figure in my life. My dad left when I was 3 years old. I had a couple other stepfathers come into my life. One was unfortunately an alcoholic, so he wasn't real present. The other one was verbally and emotionally abusive. And so I never really had this male influence, this male role model, this male presence in my life. And so as I start having children, I've got 3 kids and 1 on the way. And so we'll have 3 boys and a little girl. Yeah, thank you. We're excited about it. I realize that I have a long ways to go in how do I be the best father that I can be? How do I be a good husband? How do I be a good business owner? How do I be a good community leader? And so I set out on this journey of self development and exploration to find out how I'm going to make this work. And I decided to throw my ring in the hat because, again, I think the people that are successful take action and are willing to get involved. So that brings us up to a little bit about today, I guess.
Right. And some of the things you just mentioned are so important because, for us as, whether we have kids or not, these are some of the things that become a grounding point for us as to why we do what we do. In fact, I'll tell you, Ryan, the last podcast of the year that I've done last year was actually an interview that I've done with my own son. He's 11 years old.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, you can listen to it. This one was received very, very well by many listeners that I never even knew listening to my show. But it was a 15-minute interview where I was talking to him. I didn't tell him the questions. We talked about just general things about bad and good in the world, and just listening to him from his word. And for me, it was important. And I in fact said it was the most important show of the year for me because
Sure.
I wanted him to know, and also for other people to know, is that our kids, if we have kids, they become us in a way if we act properly. And like you said, no, you had, unfortunately, you didn't have a father, but all these people that came to replace your father, they didn't serve as a role model for you. In fact, they were on the contrary.
Right, right.
So I wanted to ask you, what did you learn about being a man? I mean, what are some of the earlier lessons as you turn to becoming a man? It's just this is kind of a big question, but
Yeah,
curious to
sure.
see.
You know, a lot of what I gained about being a man actually happened on the football field and the baseball diamond. I played a lot of sports as I was growing up, and so I was able to surround myself with friends who were great influences on me. Their fathers were involved, my coaches were involved, and so I take a lot of the lessons in my life now and the things that I'm good at come from learning what it's like to participate as a team, learning what it's
Right,
like to lose and then wanting to get better, learning what it's like to win and trying to win in humility and with class and just being a class act.
right.
So there is a lot of discipline and commitment and integrity. All of those things can be learned through sports, which
Mm-hmm.
is fortunately I had a great experience there. And then I also joined the military. I spent eight
Of
years in the
course.
National Guard and then a year and a half as an active duty Army in the Army and went to Iraq in 2005 and spent a year and a half there, a year in Iraq, but a year and a half total gone. And of course, there's a lot of lessons there as well: commitment, honor, dedication, sacrifice. And
Of
we can
course.
get into more of those things as you want. But
Right.
these are all areas that I gained a lot of what I feel like I'm good at now and some of those core skills that I think it's important every single person on the planet learns.
Right. And I think, like I said, the experiences that you went through are so important. But I wanted to ask you, you mentioned that you're now a father, you have your kids of your own.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to know, now that you're a dad yourself, how did it change your idea of actually what it means to be a man as opposed to, taking it from sports or the military? What are some of the differences that now you implement being a dad yourself?
I think the biggest thing that a father can do is to be present, to be
Hmm.
engaged, to be active. And so I think a lot of the times we as men in general tend to believe that my responsibility and my role is to go out there and earn the bacon, bring home the bucks, and we're going to let my wife take care of this
Right.
or a sitter, and hopefully all that stuff gets taken care of. And, I tuck my kids in or whatever it may be, and hopefully all is well. But what I'm finding is that the more that I can be involved, my son, he's turning 8 years old this year in the next couple of months.
Right.
He's going to be starting Cub Scouts.
Hmm.
And that's something that I want to be actively involved in with him. He needs that from me. So, as hard as it is for me, and just like everybody else out there, turning electronics off, trying to clear your mind when you get home and leave work where it is, and then just being present and available and doing activities, whether it's jumping on the trampoline or
Hmm.
talking about life or being involved in coaching, that has been probably the number one thing that has helped build my relationship with my children.
And and I totally agree with that. I mean, and I feel that even for myself in my journey, they don't care about the toys and the next iPad. I
Now,
mean, the more I spend time, and especially in the last few years, I realized that they sitting there and maybe even just listening to music together for hours
of
without doing
course.
anything. They need that presence because it's it's too easy just to buy something and throw it out there and leave. Anybody can do
Right,
that, right? Even
right.
even a stepfather can do it. But you genuinely interested in somebody, just spending the time and listening, and maybe even giving some sort of an advice is and you know what? The more you do it with your own kids, it is in my case. I felt that I became more sensitive to other people, my employees, my colleagues, people I meet.
Your
It's
clients,
right. It's crazy how it affects everything.
of
And the more
course.
you're distant with your own family, it affects your business as well, in the
Yes.
same way,
You
right?
know what's really interesting is we sit down at the dinner table every night. And I realize that can't work in every family dynamic
Of course.
because there's a lot of moving parts. But about 90% of the evenings, we're able to sit down as a family. And one of the things that we do when we sit down at that dinner table is we ask all of our children, what was your favorite part of the day?
Hmm.
And I have yet to have heard them say a toy or a video game or watching that movie. Every time I ask those kids what their favorite part of the day was, it has to do with an activity they had with mom during the day, or maybe just me coming home was their favorite part of the day. And so they know they want
Right.
you involved in their life. But this is applicable to everything, like you said. I mean, think about your clients. I'm sure a lot of attorneys are listening to
Of
this
course.
now. You've got to have the same type of attentiveness and commitment and dedication to your clients And I think that's going to really set you apart, especially in the financial industry in general, not just for lawyers, but
Right.
financial advisors and accountants and everybody else.
Right. It's the same set of skills. You have to listen first. And if they feel that you're not interested in what they have to say, all you want is their money, then they're not going to hire you or they won't trust you anymore. And trust
Right.
is something you have to earn. You can't buy it.
Right.
Right.
Yep. I agree.
So, Ryan, you being in the army, you probably experienced war. I assume you were during the years where we had some sort of war over there.
Hmm.
And I'm wondering if you can maybe share with us some of the lessons you took, back when you came back from experiencing being in a war.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is to eliminate excuses from your life
Hmm.
because if you get into a warlike situation, it's literally a life or death situation. And
Right.
so there's now I'll be the first to tell you I did not have it. I was in Iraq and Ramadi in 2005, and although it seems like we got attacked every day, our base got hit with a rocket or mortar every single day. It seemed like I know that there's other soldiers out there who had it infinitely harder than I did.
Of
But
course.
that being said, the decisions they made and the decisions that I had to make and our section had to make and our unit had to make impact people's lives, literally life or death scenarios. And it would be really easy for you to make a wrong decision and come up with an excuse as to why that decision was made. But at the end of the day, if you made a poor choice or a poor decision,
Hmm.
somebody's life was going to be negatively impacted.
Right.
Now we get into civilian life, and because it's not life or death, I think we take it a little bit more casually. Oh, if I mess up, it's no big deal, and we're willing to pawn it off a little bit better. And hey, this is going to cost us a little money or a little bit of time, but it's not that big a deal. We'll get over it. And what I'm here to tell you is that the more that you can take accountability and ownership of your life in the mess ups, the more that you're going to begin to make great decisions that are going to propel you forward to where you want to be.
Right. And I think that's exactly the problem because, in regular life, there's no, oh, yeah, we can pay off the guy or we can do this and that.
Right.
And so the threshold is definitely much lower. But if everybody were thinking like that, you know what? If I mess it up, I don't know what he really feels because you don't know how sensitive that person is, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's always hard to. So how do you make that balance? And how do you train your mind to act like that as if you are in the military on a regular basis?
Well, obviously, there's a huge amount of discipline that comes along with this. And what's interesting is I talk with guys all over the country and all over the world, is that I'm realizing that most people know what it is they need to do. So I get calls and emails and texts and Facebook messages every day. How do I build more wealth? How do I get in better shape? How do I connect with my wife? All of these type of questions that real men are having real concerns about. And I'm not very quick to answer the question. I
Right.
almost turn that back on them a little bit and say, what have you done? What has worked? What hasn't worked? What do you think will work? And more, I'm finding that the men have the answers already, but
Hmm.
there's a gap between what they know and what they're actually doing. So it's
Oh,
not the knowledge, it's not the information, it's the discipline to follow through on that. And I think the first thing that we need to do, not just as men, but as human beings in general, is get very clear about what it is that we want in life. So we go throughout this day and we let the day get a hold of us and we
right.
have notifications pop up on our phone and we have people emailing us and demanding our time and clients coming in and all of these distractions. And then at the end of the day, we wonder, why didn't I get anything done? Or I don't feel fulfilled or I'm not
Yeah.
happy with the direction of my life. And the reason you're not is because you had no influence and no insight, if you
Right.
will, into how you actually wanted your day to run. So I'm very deliberate about what I want this to happen this year, what I want to happen this quarter, and what I want to happen this day. So I plan
Hmm.
out every single day. I go back at the end of the day, and a military term we use is an after action review, an
Hmm.
AAR. And so I use the same process for my day in my business. What did I get done? What didn't I get done? What am I going to change tomorrow? And I think
Yeah.
by being a little bit more deliberate about setting up your day and a little bit more conscious about reviewing what happened throughout the day, you're
Uh-huh.
going to have so much more success and be able to consistently maintain that.
So, for example, a lot of successful people they have what is called a morning routine. There's been plenty of books written about that. Do you
Sure.
do you do something like that? Like, do you have a something? Do you do something similar or the same every morning?
Yeah, I
So
do.
maybe you want to share with us?
I'd be
Yeah.
happy to. I'll give a disclaimer here first.
Yeah.
And the disclaimer is just because I happen to share what works for me doesn't
Of
necessarily
course.
mean it's going to work for you. And the reason I bring that up is because I think, again, we need to be accountable for our own lives. So I
Sure.
can gain information from podcasts and
Sure.
books and all of the things that I'm consuming. but you've got to find something that works for you. This is what works for me. Use it if you can, but tweak it, adapt it, change it to work for you. So what I do is I get up usually about 5:30 every morning, and I'll think a little bit about the day. Not a whole lot of tangible activities in that time, but just thinking about the day. What do I want to get accomplished? Waking up, stretching out, because then I'm going to the gym. And I go to the gym for an hour. And I think having some sort of regimen, some sort of exercise regimen is so valuable.
Absolutely.
And it helps you get the day off on the right track. So I go exercise for an hour. I happen to do CrossFit. You can agree with CrossFit or not. It doesn't matter. Again, find what works for you, but exercise is huge. I come back, and if I can, I sit down with my family for breakfast. My 8-year-old boy and my wife, a couple of days ago made breakfast for me. So I got home. We all had breakfast together, which was great. And you obviously just get ready and things like that. Now, when I get into the office, that's where the work really starts happening. So I like the quote, and I'll probably butcher this, but Abraham Lincoln is credited with the quote that if I have 6 hours to chop down a tree, I'm going to spend the first 4 sharpening the axe, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's the takeaway when it comes to setting up your business. Don't get in the office and boom, just immediately start getting to client calls or following up on emails. But what you should do is start planning out that day. Be deliberate. How is this going to go? What is this going to work? What am I going to get accomplished? And when you're clear about how your day is going to go and the flow of the day, only then should you get into the day. So that's my morning routine. Not real special or extraordinary, but valuable. It works for me.
Well, I think what is important in any morning routine is consistency, because I heard different people. Some people meditate, some people they like to have visionary board. But I think as long as you do it every morning and you keep up with it, that's the key. Just do it, and whatever.
Yeah, because it's easy to do something for a day or two, and then you do it for 2 days. You're like, I don't know, I didn't really feel anything. Well, you didn't feel anything because you didn't give yourself a chance to internalize this process and let it work for you in your life.
Right, exactly. So I think that's perfect. I mean, exercise. I agree with you. I mean, I used to exercise in the evening, and I feel that if you do it in the morning, it's a whole different thing. I mean, it's been already, it's just totally different because you have the boost and the energy to do it. And
I don't know how guys do it in the because you know what? At the end of the day, I'm pretty tired. I've spent a full day. I've been running around and doing everything I can to be successful and productive. And if I did it at the end of the day, I don't know if I'd ever go to the gym, but hey, if it works for you, great, do it. Just get some exercise
just do it
consistently. Exactly.
Yep. We don't want to discourage people from exercising, right?
Right.
So, I had this, sometimes I'll consult young lawyers from law schools, and they want to know about marketing, how to start a law firm. And I had a conversation with this young guy the other day, and he says, Jacob, how can I be successful as an attorney? How can I be successful in life? I want to know what to do from day one. And I wanted to ask you, first of all, what do you think being successful in life means anyway for us men?
Well, I think success is different for everybody. And I think that's probably a key underlying theme or message of this show is that you've got to find what works for you.
Right.
For me, it's just improving each and every day. And I think that's the key is that you need to focus, especially with these young attorneys. I remember being in the financial planning practice 9 years ago, right as I was getting into it. Yeah. And I would look around, I would see these guys in my office that are having tremendous amounts of success, making great money, helping people, impacting their lives. And I thought, I want that. And I was discouraged every single day because I didn't have that end result. And when it switched for me, when I started to feel fulfilled, and to your question, successful, is when I focused on the actions I wanted to take on a daily basis. So success for me is doing. It's in the work. It's in the process, finding joy in the adventure, in the journey, if you will, rather than hurrying and worrying about getting to that destination. So I would say to anybody who's getting into a business or wants to get back on track with their health, or maybe there's some relationship issues that they're working through, is to find some actions that you just know will lead to the results you want by default. It's just a given that if you do these couple of things, you're gonna earn that reward. You're gonna succeed in whatever area of life that it is you want. But that's not a great answer because it's not the magic bullet.
Of course, and I think there isn't. I mean, because
there isn't
success,
one. No,
success is so much different. But I think I feel that as long as you're fulfilled and you're willing to continue hustling and doing what you want without feeling, I don't want to get up in the morning, then success is there, and you did it. Because if you feel unhappy to get out of the house, then you're not doing anything that makes you successful or happy, right?
I think successful people don't necessarily have, although they may, but don't necessarily have the largest bank accounts or aren't the wealthiest or the
Right.
best looking or the most talented. That's not what success is. I think success is, like you said, being energized and being excited
Right.
about the work that you're going to do today. And when you lose that passion, you lose that excitement, you lose that energy, I would probably debate that you're no longer successful in whatever area of life it is. And
Exactly.
you need to mix things up. You need to change things around
Right.
and make a change in life.
No matter what it looks like from the outside.
Right.
So, right, one of the things that I'm curious about, and you mentioned those 8 key areas in life, and I understand relationship, and we can talk about it forever. But I'm
Yeah.
curious about the manly know-how. What do you mean? What do you mean by that? And because I think it's an interesting point because it's some people talk about it kind of behind closed doors, but what is it exactly, and how do we keep up with this?
Manly know how to me is about being useful.
Uh huh.
Because if men
Yes.
aren't useful, what point is there in having us around?
Okay.
So when I talk about usefulness, it could be as simple as doing some basic plumbing and
Uh huh.
electrical around the house.
Okay.
That could be. It could be knowing survival skills. We hear a lot about active shooter situations.
Yes.
That's something. Are you going to be the guy that cowers in the corner? Or you're going to be the guy that takes charge and leads people to safety?
Right.
So understanding how to use a firearm, understanding survival skills, if there's an emergency, if there's a crime in action, what are those? How are you going to react and respond to those things? And obviously there's utility in those things. It's useful to know those things. But the other side of it is that it just helps. In my experience, it helps me feel alive. Men
Right.
in general want to be productive. We want to be moving forward. We want to be building things. We want to be using our hands. And so, using our hands and working out in the shop and building things and picking things apart and just being engaged in activity for me just helps me be so passionate and excited about life.
Right. So, what about people, for example, that are they want to do it, but they may not necessarily be the most handy in the world?
Yeah,
So
sure.
I see it also as you saying that okay, maybe you're not you can't fix a toilet or you can renovate the house yourself, but you can learn or at least be involved in trying to want to do this, right?
Right.
So how do we bring that state of mind to people that are not interested in doing that?
Well, I think all of us have things that we're excited about or things that we're passionate about or at the very minimum things that we're intrigued about. And when we get excited about something, we want to start right away, but if we don't start those activities right away, then that little voice in our head says, "Hold on, stop. You don't have time for this. You don't have money. You've got other priorities." And so we start telling ourselves these scripts that keep us from exploring new ideas, a new concept, and new things. So, what I would say is that if something intrigues you, whether it's photography or a graphic design, or hey, I want to build a rocking chair, or I need to fix the plumbing in the toilet, I don't care, whatever it is, take action immediately. That's number one.
Right.
Number two is if you see somebody who you admire a skill set or a trait or a characteristic that they have, reach out to that person. I think as men, we're really afraid to reach out to other guys and say, "Hey,
Yes.
I need help," or "I need advice," or "Can I pick your brain?" or "Will you give me some insights into how your mind works or how your business works or how you build something out of nothing?" And I think reaching out to those people is going to help you expand your mind and of course, pursue some of those passions and those interests that you might have.
Right. I like that. That's a great idea and advice. So as we come to the end of our show, I wanted to ask you a question that probably you've been asked before, but you probably be a good person to answer it. What do you think? Our world right now is this is a crazy world.
Yeah.
But what do you think this world needs more than ever from men all over the world, not just in the U.S.?
I think the biggest
Yeah.
thing, yeah, no, this is such a valuable question, and it's really simple to answer, but it's easy to execute. This simplicity of this answer is personal accountability and responsibility.
Right.
Stop worrying about what everybody else is doing. Stop the excuses. Stop blaming other people for what's going on in your life. Stop being the victim and start taking responsibility for your own life and being accountable to the decisions that you make. Your level of success in whatever area of life and where you are right now is because of the choices that you've made in the past. So if I look at my life, I'm responsible for my actions I'm responsible for my family's actions. I'm responsible for the way that I run the business. And if more of us worried about being good stewards over the things that we're responsible for, the world would be an amazing place. But the problem is that this goes all the way up to the presidency. The president of the United States of America, arguably the leader of the free world,
Right.
has a lack of personal accountability and responsibility. And that trickles down and that shows everywhere else. And if we just step up as men and as women and as business leaders and community leaders and spiritual leaders, I think the world's going to be a better place.
Yeah, it's a great way to end the show, and I think it's true. I mean, you just think about it. We have to be accountable, and you can't do anything unless you have that state of mind. And Ryan, so I will share the your website again. It's orderofman.com. And is there any other website you want to share with people? How can somebody connect with you if they want to ask you any more questions or find you aside from the website?
Yeah, that's the best way is to go to the website. The
Uh-huh.
other place that I'm very active is we have a Facebook group for men,
Okay.
which is at facebook.com/groups/order of man. So you can
Okay.
request access. We'll allow you
Perfect.
access. We have over 1,800 guys in there having conversations about everything from survival skills to how do I connect with my kids to how do I be a better boss to how can I get a raise? You name it, we're having conversations about it.
Oh, perfect. So if you want to email me that link so I can have a precise link, I'll also make sure we have them in the show notes for you as well.
You bet,
The
I'll do
show.
it.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Ryan, and I wish you a beautiful weekend and taking the time to come on the show.
Thanks, Jacob. I appreciate the opportunity.
Of course. And thank you, our listeners who tune in every week. We love to hear from you, your emails, your questions. And we'll see you at our next episode. This is Jacob signing off from San Diego.